Hey, what's up YouTube? Once again, welcome to another episode, here on Sam's Creative Toolbox. Like always, my name is Sam. You can also find me here on Facebook. And this video is all about camera movement in After Effects. I will show you several techniques on how I create my own camera animations, the camera movement. And like always, let's meet in After Effects and have some fun. Okay guys, before I will show you how to animate the camera, I will first give you some very basic information. And the most important one is that cameras only work in 3D space or with 3D layers. So to turn a 2D layer into a 3D layer, you just have to click this cube icon right here. As you can see, for example, for all my HUD layers, so just these circle lines right here. So like I said, just click on this cube icon to turn it into a 3D layer. If you are confused, by the way, because why I didn't check some other 3D layers like these cylinders right here, it's actually very easy because I applied an effect called CC Cylinder, and this effect kinda does the same as clicking this cube icon, so it also turns this 2D layer or this 2D world map, for example, into a 3D object, so it's also available for my camera. Okay guys, so if you want to create a new camera, just simply right click on your mouse and choose New and Camera, or also go to Layer, New and choose Camera. As you can see, I already created a camera which is called Camera 1. So once you've created a camera, you will see a window popping up which looks something like that. And I think if you see it for the first time, it may look a bit confusing because of all that numbers, this camera, kind of sketch right here. But it's actually very easy. So the first thing you may want to do is change the name. But to be honest, I always leave it at default. So for example, camera 1, camera 2, and so on. Then after that, I usually think about the focal length, which you can see right here on the preset. And it's the same on your as on your DSLR or your film camera. So for example, if you choose a 50mm lens, you will get that super fisheye distorted look. And if you, for example, choose 200mm, you will get that telezoom effect. You can also enter some custom values. You can do that right here on the focal length. Just click and type in any value you want. If you, like I did, select 50mm, it will stay, kind of neutral. And then you will have some other settings or numbers like zoom, angle of view, and film size. But to be honest, I never changed some of these values. I don't know exactly how they work. So I would recommend, especially if you are a beginner, to just leave everything as default. And the last thing you will have is this depth of field. For this tutorial, I will disable it because I will make in part 2. I will show you exactly how to work with depth of field because it's also kind of complicated as a beginner. So like I said, these are all your settings. And before I forget, you also get this type thing right here. So you have a 2-node camera and a 1-node camera. The difference is that a 1-node camera, I think it kind of rotates around itself. And the 2-node camera has a thing called point of interest. I usually recommend to use a 2-node camera because I personally find it a bit easier to animate and to work with. But it's up to you to choose and also to just try out which one you like better. Okay guys, so once you've typed in all your values, you are finished with your basic settings, you just click OK. Don't panic if you want to go back and change some things. You just double click this camera or go to layer and camera settings. You can always go back and change everything you want. Okay, then the next basic information is that once you create the camera, you can always see it here in active camera. You will have camera 1. So let's create a second camera, for example, which is called camera 2. You will also see camera 1 and camera 2. So as you can see right now is camera 2 selected, and you can always switch between, I don't know, all the cameras you have. Okay. By the way, you can also of course select front to have a front view or a top view. and also a custom view. So yeah, this window here is quite nice to help you animate your camera or your project. Oh, sorry, let's select camera 1. And also a very cool trick is to select this layout icon. And as you can see, currently I've selected a view, but you can also choose, for example, to have 2 screens. So for example, 2 views horizontal. And as you can see, I have now two windows. The one you have selected has these yellow edges right here, so you can also choose 2 different kind of views. So for example, I want for the right one my camera 1, and for the left one I want the top camera, just as an example. You can also change these or even activate 4 screens. It's really up to you how to do that. But I usually work with 1 view or 2 views horizontal. But as I said, it's up on you to decide which of these views fits your workflow. Okay, so let's delete the camera 2 and select our camera 1. And now I will show you 2 ways about animating your camera. The first one is with the camera tool, or the unified camera tool, which is in the toolbar on your program. You can also hit C as a shortcut, and if you click and hold, you will have a lot of different options. So you have, for example, the unified camera tool, which is a combination of these 3 below. Then you have the orbit camera tool for rotation, the track X and Y, so you can only move it in 2D space, and the track Z camera tool, which is something like zoom, so you can only zoom in and zoom out. So for example, let's select the track Z camera tool. And as you can see, I can now just zoom in and zoom out. And if I, for example, choose orbit camera tool, I can only rotate it. But I usually work with the unified camera tool, and it's actually very cool because you can work very fast instead of always go back and change to a different tool. And to work with the unified camera tool, you will have to use your mouse. So let's say you want to zoom in, you simply have to right click your mouse and then just move it forward or backwards to zoom in and out. If you want to orbit the camera, you just have to left click your mouse. And as you can see, I can now rotate my camera. And if I want to move around my object, I simply have to push my scroll wheel. And by doing that, I can move my object around in 2D space. So as you can see, it's actually very, very easy to move around or to animate your camera. I would recommend to just simply use some of your projects to just practice and get used to the camera workflow. And now if you want to animate your camera, you simply have to use keyframes. So just open up your transform settings. And as I said, I have this 2-node camera, so I will have position and the point of interest. So let's go to the beginning. And then please click on these stopwatches for point of interest and also for position. And then let's, for example, zoom in a bit. So let's say I want to start, I don't know, maybe somewhere in the left corner, and also zoom in a bit more. And then I want to, about the time of 2 seconds, I want to, let's say, zoom out a bit, get a more, more wide shot, something like that, and also maybe rotate it. Okay, and now as you can see, I start right here, and then the camera moves a bit outwards. So as you can see, it's really, really easy to animate the camera. And of course, you also have different keyframe options. So for example, you could select all your keyframes and hit F9. So it's called Easy Ease, which means that it kind of fades in, gets faster, and then slows down at the end. You can also right click and choose Keyframe Assistant and choose Easy Ease In and Easy Ease Out. And if you really want to get super pro, you could also select your keyframes and then click on this graph editor icon right here. And then you'll have also your keyframe curves, and you can also edit them separately. So you can also influence the speed and the position and everything. But to be honest, I never worked with this graph editor because, to be honest, I still don't know how to work with this graph editor exactly. So like I said, I usually only work with my keyframe and my timeline. Okay guys, so this is the first way about animating your camera, I will now open up a second project and show you a second very cool way to animate the camera. So let me give a couple of seconds about, yeah, camera to number 2, don't save. And yeah, as you can see right now, no, you can't see it. Let's wait a couple of seconds. Okay guys, as you can see, I have this new project with something like a slideshow, so just some Polaroid image frames with my New York holiday photos in it. Yeah, here's the construction comp, so it's a very high resolution. Let me show you that. Yeah, 9,500 pixels, so a very huge texture. And then I just placed some images on it. That's also, by the way, the same technique I use, for example, for my horror template. I just use a very large wood texture and then place my blood, my images, my knife and everything, yeah, on top of this texture. And then I took this really huge or large texture and put it in nude composition, which has the size of HD. So as you can see, it's actually very cropped right now. And then I want to create a new camera. So like before, layer, new camera. I will leave all the settings as default and make sure to check 2-node camera, click OK. And now instead of animating this camera, I will now simply create a null object and use that as a controller for my camera. So just to stay organized, I will call it camera controller, and also make sure to enable 3D object. Then select my camera, use the pick whip tool to pick whip this camera to the camera controller. And yeah, by doing that, your null object is now able to control the camera any way you want. So you can again move it left, right, zoom in, zoom out, and also rotate it. So just to tell you the differences between the first method and this method, I would recommend to use the first method with the unified camera tool for more complex projects like my news intros. And if you have some simpler project like this, this slideshow right here, I would recommend to use this camera controller, because for these kind of projects, I think this one is a bit more easier than the unified camera tool. Okay, so like I said, instead of camera, I will now animate my null object. So hit P for position and also R for rotation, because maybe I want to change the rotation, especially in the Z axis. So I will also check this stopwatch, and yeah, then just take my camera tool or the camera controller and move it, for example, to the beginning, which is my New York title right here. Let's zoom in a bit, rotate it a bit. Okay. And then, for example, I want to stay there for 2 seconds. So move forward for 2 seconds. Again, hit the keyframe button right here. And then I want, for example, 1 second as a transition for to the next image. And then just take your camera controller and move it to the next image, and so on and so on. And yeah, for example, something like that. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay. Let's also stay there for 2 seconds. Sorry, also make a keyframe for Z rotation. Then move forward again for about 2 seconds. Okay, again, click here this keyframe icon. And then again 1 second forward. And again, move your null object all the way down and zoom in a bit. This time I also want to change the rotation, so just play around with that. Zoom in a bit more. And yeah, as you can see, I now get this kind of great looking animation. Okay. And yeah, this is a very cool method, like I said, to animate your camera about like something like a texture. Before I finish, I want to show you one problem that may appear. So let's say I want to move again to the next image. So move forward for a couple of seconds and then take your null object again and now move up. Okay, change the rotation. And as you can see right now, After Effects simply creates this kind of curve right here. And sometimes you don't want that because you want your camera to really move on this particular point without making this slightly rotation to the side. And you can easily fix that by selecting your pen tool and your convert vertex tool, and then just click on this path point right here And as you can see, you now have this super linear curve. And After Effects or the camera really travels super straight to this point and then to the next point. So it's really up on you. If you want that kind of curvy look, you can leave it as a Bezier curve, but if you want to really travel exactly where you want it to be, then use this vertex tool to make it a linear path. Okay guys, that's it for camera movement today. Like always, if you find this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, like always, stay creative and have fun.